Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently with the price action and where I think things are going to be heading next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button, I really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out guys, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check it out. Let's jump right down into this one though by taking a look at what's been going on most recently. So what we'll do is we'll start things off. Actually, let me just bring my camera in here. There we go. We're going to start things off by taking a look at the thumbnails and the video content that we've been putting out recently, just to kind of reflect on whether or not I'm accountable for any major mistakes or anything like that. At the moment, looking pretty good. Obviously, the idea of going to 32,917 is a major resistance, and we actually hit our targets yesterday. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We can also see here that we had this pull to the downside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another a horizontal line right here with an arrow, and what we'll do is we'll add a thumbnail here for today's video when I've created that, so that we can see and keep myself accountable. Ultimately, we're looking for this push to the upside, and it does look like we hit our target quite well. So let's jump down into into the charts. Specifically, we'll start with Elliott wave theory, then progress on to the smart money concept side of things. So here you can see that we hit this fifth wave high. This is basically between our target range of $30,767 and $31,128. Now, it's possible that this is now done and we don't have to go down any further. And it's important that we note that we have an interesting structure to the downside here. Now, that idea of moving up to the 32,917 from yesterday's thumbnail is all about the resistance lines. Actually, I'll bring this back to our daily here just to make this a little bit easier. Coming over here, we can see 32,719 or whatever it was up here, 917 is basically this low point from up this area here. Okay, so that's the idea, is maybe there's a resistance to be found up in that range, but from our hourly chart it's not so much that important. We can see here that we kind of have hit our target. This is a C wave high, and by all stretches of the imagination looks like it is complete within that structure. So let's go ahead and review the most recent price action here. Okay, and what is going on. Now, we can see that this is an interesting structure. We can argue that there is a potential move that looks like this, 5 waves in here. But in order for us to really make sense of that, we're going to have to probably go down into the smaller time frame. So we'll go into the 15 minutes here. And here you can see things a little bit more clearly. And we have a very clear structure. In fact, if I take it to a 5-minute, probably becomes even clearer. So just up here, we can see we have a nice 5-wave drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Then over this side, we end up with that nice structured move as well. We have another 5-wave structure here, comprising of 5 at the start, okay? And if I just wrap this up, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and this is on the 5-minute chart, and you can kind of see this quite clearly. We had 5 coming down. We have then a big 5-wave structure coming down here even further. Then we've moved back up. We haven't created an invalidation, but we have come up pretty high. So if I bring this up into our hourly again, you can see that we now have this structured move coming and taking us down deeper. Now I'm going to get rid of these smaller moves just so you can kind of see this in here. But if I wrap that up in a bigger one, you can kind of see 1, 2, 3. This is still 4 technically. And then we can have a 5th. Now, the other thing to note here is this can be just a zigzag pattern, which is basically 5 down, 3 up, 5 down. But it has met that 1.618 requirement with a 535. Chances are that we do have to move down. Now, if this is the case, then we're going to be looking at bringing Bitcoin's price down to between the 1.236 and the 1.618. As long as it doesn't truncate or anything like that. So basically, if I make this a little bit bigger, we can see those prices. On the fib levels, we are talking about a low of 29,583 and 29,797. Okay, so our 5th wave movement can be essentially anywhere in there, in this little gap here, okay? If I zoom out, we can then note that this could see a significant bounce to the upside afterwards, maybe retesting some of these previous highs. Up at that kind of $30,000 level. Okay, probably where we're finding this upper resistance right now at 30,550. You can see that there's a lot of resistance up here. Okay, now we're overbought on this hourly chart again, but oversold on the 4 hour. Okay, so I think we move down and then we move up. Of course, we could create an invalidation, and an invalidation would basically mean that we don't drop down into 5 waves, into that final 5th wave. That would occur if price action moves up higher than 30,657. Okay, so anything higher than that would basically create an invalidation of this structure. Okay, now ultimately, if we go up higher than 31,000 flat, then of course we are going to be talking about this just being a corrective structure, and we're probably going to be looking for an extension within this 5th wave movement, because this would be corrective coming down. And we might see a big extension within that 5th wave movement, taking us up into those highs. Okay, so it's a little bit uncertain for now, but at least we know the rules of what we're following. Okay, so this might seem really alien to some who maybe are not as familiar with Elliott wave theory, but it is rule-based. If this happens, then you expect X, right? But if Y happens, then you should expect Z. Okay, and it's as simple as that. If you follow the rules and you actually apply Elliott wave theory correctly, in terms of all the sub-counting and all that kind of stuff that goes on, then we can be predictive over what our expectations are based on the current structures that are there. And if those structures change, then we expect a different output. Okay, we can't expect an impulsive output if we have invalidations or rules that get broken on that journey. So as long as we know our expectations, which should be that we move down into our low target here of 29,580 to 29,817. Okay, that's our expectation. That's what we should be expecting, because that's the structure. But if price does go up higher than 30,657, then that is not the expectation. We cannot go down to that particular level under this particular structure. And instead, we have to think about what's going on in here. Now, for the most part, we're finding good support on that 50 EMA, but being overbought on this hourly does lead me more to thinking that we have a move to the downside to be had here before we see this move upwards. That being said, we are very, very close to that invalidation. So I think if we were to short the market, it'll be a pretty decent risk-reward ratio. Let's just take market value. We put our stop loss just above that invalidation line, and we'll put our take profit down in this area here for our TP, basically our 5th wave target, and we get a 2.18 risk-reward ratio. So again, it's not perfect, because I would much rather have that tighter, but it gives you an idea that you could potentially be shorting the market here with a decent risk management aspect associated with it, targeted and stop loss kind of associated with it. So for the most part, Elliott wave theory here is saying that we should be going down because that's the structure, but we also know the numbers that we would change our structures based on invalidations of the psychology of people trading Bitcoin, right? So we know at the moment, we're looking for a reversal pattern, and that if this does complete in 5 waves, we move up, and then we go down in 5. We start with 5, we end in 5, basically meaning my expectation would be that this would be some kind of bigger corrective structure over a longer period of time. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, join us in Discord and check out Cheeky School, linked in the description below. We did a whole course on Elliott wave theory to explain the different structures and what they mean. From a smart money concepts point of view, what do we see? Well, we can still see that we're in a bullish structure that hasn't changed. But we have obviously completed this upper area, right? We've met our C wave expectations here. We don't have to go up any higher here, but we can, and we can under the idea of WXYXZ at the moment. So we want to acknowledge that it's definitely possible that we can continue this move to the upside if we really, really had to. But on the macro level, I don't think we need to. We can see that we're overbought on the weekly, daily, 8 hours coming down, 4 hours already oversold, and back to overbought on the 1 hour chart. So it's some volatility on the smaller time frame, sure, but on the macro level, it looks like we have to move down. We'll talk more about that this afternoon. Now, as we kind of come in here, we do see a minor bearish change of character just here, and typically we've moved up, we retrace after we'd see this, and obviously we know that we had this impulsion to the downside anyway. We now see that we potentially are up in this upper area of resistance. We still have a weak high at the moment, and we are obviously testing the 50 EMA. Our 200 is down by equilibrium, which also happens to be a fair value gap. The chances are that we have to move down into this range at some point, and this isn't actually too difficult to understand. This pretty much is our targeted range on our kind of bigger structural moves to the downside. And as we kind of start scaling out of this thing, we can start to see that there's a few more gaps down a little bit lower, but at the moment our structure still remains bullish, so we can't be thinking too much about those moves to the downside. So from a smart money concepts point of view, there was a fair value gap that was left here. It's been filled. Okay, and other than that, we've got these ones down here that are yet to be filled. So I do think a visit to equilibrium, which would be pretty natural and healthy, is on the horizon here. And that also happens to coincide with our 200 EMA on our hourly chart. So for the most part, I think everything is actually coming up together quite nicely for Bitcoin on these timeframes. My expectations are that we do move down over the weekend. It could be a diagonal. It could also truncate and fall short of this target. But you know, we have the numbers. We know what we're looking for. We short, and we obviously know where our invalidation levels are, in my opinion. But that's all this is. My humble opinion on what I think is going on with the price action of BTC. And let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you found this useful, informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, selecting all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors. None of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.